Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. It looks like a full house. I will call to order this first meeting of the new year. This is our regular meeting for January 6, 2026. And first up, we will be doing the council member oath of offices, and we will be doing them by position. So I'll pass it over to our city clerk.
Okay, and we'll be starting with position 1. Do you want to stay at the podium? Okay. Okay, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Amy Lamb,
Having been duly elected
to
the office of City Council Member, Position 1
to the office of City Council Member, Position 1
for the City of Sammamish,
for the City of Sammamish,
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
perform the duties of my office as prescribed by law and to the best of my ability. That I will support and maintain the laws and Constitution of the United States of America, the state of Washington, and the ordinances of the City of Sammamish. Congratulations.
Thank you.
This one. Yep. Get a photo. And then if you want to get a photo. Okay. Oh, sure. Well, invite your family out. He's coming. Okay, and then we'll go with Josh Amato, Council Member, Position 3. Okay, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Josh Amato,
Having been duly elected to the office of City Council Member, Position 3
to the office of City Council Member, Position 3
for the City of Sammamish,
for the City of Sammamish,
do solemnly swear that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of my office as prescribed by law and to the best of my ability. That I will support and maintain the laws and Constitution of the United States of America, the state of Washington, and the ordinances of the City of Sammamish.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Your name is in a lot of history here.
Yes. Yeah, you're absolutely welcome to join it. All right, position 5, Councilmember Bauer. Okay, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Michael Darrell Boyer,
Having been duly elected
have been duly elected
to the office of City Council Member, Position 5,
to be duly elected to Council Member Position 5
for the City of Sammamish,
for the City of Sammamish,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
perform the duties of my office
perform the duties of my office
as prescribed by law and to the best of my ability,
as prescribed by law and to the best of my abilities,
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the laws and Constitution of the United States of America,
the laws and constitutions of the United States of America,
the state of Washington,
the State of Washington,
and the ordinances of the City of Sammamish.
and the ordinances of the City of Sammamish.
Congratulations. Next, we have Councilmember Debbie Treen, Position 7. Okay, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Deborah Joan Treen,
Having been duly elected
having been duly elected
to the office of City Council Member, Position 7,
to the office of City Council Member, Position 7,
for the City of Sammamish,
for the City of Sammamish,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
perform the duties of my office
perform the duties of my office
as prescribed by law and to the best of my ability,
as prescribed by law and to the best of my ability,
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the laws and Constitution of the United States of America,
the laws and Constitution of the United States of America,
the state of Washington,
the State of Washington,
and the ordinances of the City of Sammamish.
and the ordinances of the City of Sammamish.
Congratulations.
All right. Get a photo. Okay.
Congratulations to all the council members, and thank you, Amber and Angie. So next up, we will proceed with our nomination of the new mayor and deputy mayor. The new mayor, the mayor term is for 1 year, and deputy mayor, or is 2 years, and deputy mayor is 1 year. I will open up the floor for nominations for mayor, and I will kick it off by nominating Councilmember Pam Stewart. Are there any other nominations? Councilmember Kentrine.
Yeah, I nominate Josh Amato.
Okay, we have 2 nominations. Are there any more? Okay, I will close the nominations, and we will proceed with voting for Councilmember Pam Stewart. Those in favor, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Can we get City Clerk? I couldn't see who voted and how.
That was 3 in favor and 4 against.
Okay, so that nomination fails, and we will do the second round, and we will vote on Councilmember Josh Amato. Those in favor, and again, raise your hand and when you vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
That was 5 in favor and 2 against.
Okay, congratulations, Josh Amato. So I will hand this over for Mayor Amato to run the rest of the meeting.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, everybody, and I appreciate some grace as I go through my first meeting here. Next up, we will proceed to the selection of deputy mayor. We'll hear nominations, and then we'll vote on them in the order that is received. And at this point, I'm going to open up a nomination for deputy mayor.
So it's conceivable numbers.
Who is 6?
Oops. So here it goes. Yeah, so it's O'Farrell, Treen.
Oh, they already
Amato.
switched it. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I would like to
Councilmember
nominate Councilmember Roisin O'Farrell.
okay, thank you. And then we have Michael Boyer, Councilmember Boyer.
I move to nominate Councilperson Debbie Treat.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to open up I'm going to open up the vote for election of Roisin O'Farrell, Councilmember O'Farrell, to deputy mayor. All those in favor, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
3 opposed.
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, the motion fails. And then we will have a vote for Councilmember Debbie Treen as deputy mayor. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Keep your hands up, please. Thank you. Opposed?
Nay. Nay.
The motion carries. Debbie Treen has been elected deputy mayor. Okay, at this point, I'm going to entertain a motion for a 15-minute recess.
Second.
So moved.
Mayor, Councilmember Boyer moved, and do we have a second?
Okay, second.
Thank you. And
I thought that was.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right.
Mayor, if I may, if you'd like to invite those in the room to join us in a short reception during that recess.
Thank you. Excellent note. Everyone heard what the city manager just said. You're invited to get some coffee and cookies and mingle with everyone, and then this is your chance to sneak out before the other stuff happens.
And Mayor, really quickly, we will resume at 7 p.m.
And we'll resume at 7 p.m.
No, I'm not leaving. No. I have to go shower after this. And it was really No, I want to meet everyone. And then I might
I don't need to stay around anymore. I've got
Hey, so they're gonna take a picture of Josh and Debbie at the flags, but then if everybody just kind of moves to the front, we'll take a picture of all of us in front of the guys. How are you?
I did better than I thought I would.
I am so proud of you.
How are you? Nice to see you again. I couldn't meet you at the Christmas party. No, I didn't know you were there. I think it's not what is this? No, he isn't. He's like that. How are you? Oh, nice. Do you have family there? Even better. I went to Hawaii for last week of December. I was like, oh my God. I know. Also because they've been there with you guys. Oh, yeah. I can imagine. Oh, wow. Awesome.
Well,
I'm so happy to see the votes go today. Hopefully she's like, I can't take it anymore. Stand and take
Only time I'll ever stand at the podium. Hope, I don't know.
Stand at the podium, right? Why are you trying to stand at the podium?
It's on. Oh, then I shouldn't.
And then
Council, if you could take your seats, we're going to get the meeting started in 1 minute. All right, it's 7 p.m. We are back from recess. If the clerk could please call the roll.
Councilmember Amy Lamb.
Here.
Councilmember Roshino Farrell.
Here.
Mayor Josh Amato.
Here.
Councilmember Kent Treen.
Present.
Councilmember Pamela Stewart.
Here.
Councilmember Michael Boyer.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Debbie Treen.
Here.
No, there's a button on the right hand side there. There you go.
Here.
Oh, you keep doing it.
Here.
There.
Thanks, Michael.
And clerk, do you announce the result of the roll call, or do we just move forward? Just move forward? Okay. All right. Councilmember Boyer, if you could please lead us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Boyer. Councilmember Stewart, can you please read the land acknowledgement?
Thank you. We acknowledge that we are on the indigenous land of Coast Salish peoples who have reserved treaty rights to this land, specifically the Snoqualmie Indian tribe. We thank these caretakers of this land who have lived and continue to live here since time immemorial.
Thank you very much. And read the meeting accessibility statement, is that? No, we do not do that. Okay. All right, on to the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It was moved by
Roshi.
Councilmember O'Farrell and seconded by Councilmember Treen. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. All right, we will open up the meeting to public comment. Thank you. And for those giving public comment, you have 3 minutes to state your public comment. And at 3 minutes, I'm going to start to cut you off and ask you to finish up your thought so we can keep the meeting going. The first name on my list is Jeff Berard. Jeff? And there should be a little button you can push to get your mic turned on.
Okay, so that has to remain, oh, it sounds like it's on. Okay, good.
You are on.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Bergard. I teach at Pine Lake Middle School, and the physical science classes at Pine Lake Middle School, inspired by the Climate Action Plan, have arranged our curriculum in a way that each trimester we teach the content and the standards in the context of sustainability. Each trimester has a different focus. This last trimester was on transportation, and the students do impact projects. And with the support of Peter Donaldson and Sustainability Ambassadors, they've done a really amazing job, and they're here to share with you their impact on how they've supported your Climate Action Plan.
The physical science department had their students choose projects to learn about their transportation system and help our city reach their goals. Students choose from 2 different kinds of projects that either directly participate in climate action through a change in their commute or indirectly through educating their family, peers, and community. Mine was directly, as my impact project was changing the way I got to and from school by changing from having my mom drive me to riding the public bus.
And 56% did vehicle mile traveled reduction, and 5% did educate, and 13% did reduce car trips, and 9% did safety, and 7% did environmental sensitivity, and 8% did bus, 2% did idling reduction, and I did BIS clothing combination, which is for safety. I tried every clothes that I have, like hoodie, shorts, and like sweaters, and I'm trying to find the best combination.
44 students completed awareness building projects, such as educating a 5th grade class on transportation emissions and identifying priority transportation improvements for city councils. And the rest 168 students changed the way they commute by taking the bus, walking, driving less, or even idling less. And together we reduced approximately 2,370 pounds of CO2 in 1 week. And I personally did vehicle miles reduction, where I was in a robotics team, and together as a team we carpooled to the practices, making our vehicle miles, each of our vehicle miles less.
Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you very much for your work and for coming to the City Council and giving a public comment. Up next, I have Jillian Wallace.
Greetings, Jillian Walsh of the historic town of Inglewood. Thank you for this opportunity to speak in this safe and accessible space. Welcome, new council and new year. And with this new year comes the ability to look back and reflect upon our previous year and receive the gift of wisdom from that exercise. Although I am a multi-decade resident of Sammamish, I am also relatively new to this political community. Coming to you this last Memorial Day, 2025, when our Inglewood public streets were called into question. Our Inglewood roads were not the only major drama in the city. However, this was my entry. And with better community advocacy in place, most of this drama, not including personal disagreements, could have been avoided. Remember, your voters are just regular people, and they need someone who can translate the fancy talk from the phenomenal city staff to ensure everyone receives the comprehensive explanation they need and the accessibility to get it. Whether it's at the city council members' extreme levels of education, or Sammamish's many homeowner association board members, or Save Our Sammamish, or my neighbor, who is capable but just needs a little extra help, even if it's just explaining what this one thing means. Everyone, regardless of their education, deserves transparency and concise communication. Follow finance's example and make it clear to the regular people, a logical breakdown that everyone can follow. Our regular people who are busy with their own things need someone who can utilize our amazing city staff, like our social manager, our farmers market community, and our publications team, who make and distribute such wonderful informationals as our sustainability plan published this previous autumn. All of Sammamish needs to be reading from the same script. So with this new year, no new drama, please. Let me get everyone on the same page so we can all work together to create the Sammamish we want. And as we grow, we learn, and we humanitize, as demonstrated by our Public Works Department, who throughout this previous year have implemented presentation procedure to pause for questions at each slide. And I'm realizing that if the big brains that we've hired via vote to represent us as a city need this additional opportunity to ask questions when they have access to hundreds of pages of extremely specific information, then what do the regular people need? Our community, Sammamish, deserves the same accessibility and transparency, and I would like to provide that. As someone recently said to me, I could have Googled it, but I waited to ask you first. I knew you saved me from all of that mess and to get me where I needed to be. And luckily, I was able to provide help. And I am extremely and deeply honored that people do come to me like this fairly often. Typically, it's the residents from Northwest Sammamish, but it is growing. That was on a Tuesday. I wrote my first draft of this speech on that Wednesday, and by that Saturday, I had 2 more independent individuals had done the same. It started with the historic town of Englewood coming to me for help, and now I'm coming to Sammamish to offer the same advocacy services. Thank you very much. Let's work together.
Thank you for your comments. Next up, we have Mary Wichter.
Good evening, Council. My name is Mary Wichter. I've lived in the city of Sammamish for 25 years. I sent in 2 emails today. The first one is on your topic for tonight for new business. It's on there's 10 items. It's the 10th item. And I wanted to say that whenever you're changing or allowing a house to expand, the first you want to look at is where are they located? What are they doing? Because if they're located where there isn't stormwater, there hasn't been stormwater drainage, the city really needs to check that first. And if you're somewhere like along the beach or on Lake Shore, Sammamish, that's a direct discharge exemption. They can go to the lake, so they don't have a problem. But if you're on the landslide hazard areas and steep areas adjacent and neighbors below can get affected. So you should make sure that when they are looking at expanding anybody's house, even for the small 300 square feet. There are some houses that were built with that are 5,000 square feet with no drainage review and would go under the old code. And in 2016-17, it turned to 2,000 square feet. So that's very important. I did put the words daylight plain in my email, and I talked with David Pyle very briefly here. It is something we considered with the city and other cities did. It's a little bit more complicated to do, so I don't think you should ask for that one. So you can ignore that item from my email. And then for affordable housing, for the 3,000 square foot footprint and trying to go up the layers. I think if someone wants to build like an extra ADU underneath, they don't want to have to tier up. It should be square or block. So I think if somebody's trying to do something for affordability, you should have an exception or exemption from that. Otherwise, I'm pretty much on board with it. And then I learned about 2 things. I always try to learn all the time. A lot of people were writing about the YMCA where people are parking where the EV charging stations are, but they have a gas-powered car, or like the handicaps are all full and the people don't have a placard. So I don't think people are doing it because they want to do it. I think they're uninformed. So I actually looked up just using Google, and I put like 3 screen captures for you to look at. But it's really important for EVs, like if they can't charge, then you have a gas-powered car there. And there is an RCW from the state of Washington, should work in private areas and public areas where you're not allowed to do that. You can pay $124 fine. You can be towed, but you shouldn't be doing it. And also, if you have an EV car that's charging, you leave it there too long and it's not actively charging, or if you're not hooked up, that can get you in the same type of trouble. And then just to relate to it, if you've ever done the handicap parking, I broke my knee last year, so I had to use that for a while. That it's kind of the same thing. Even in public and private places, you don't want to use those. So I just wanted to make sure that you know, and it might be worth it that the city, and you could tell the city manager, the communications, maybe that news should go out, because I really didn't know it. I drive a hybrid car, but there were just a lot of complaints on SeeClickFix from my Sammamish. And I want to thank everyone in the city or outside the city who uses my Sammamish app and does SeeClickFix to report things, because that's the #1 way the city hears about them, to be able to fix the problems. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mary. And Mr. City Manager, if you could, she sent an email in with some of those questions she addressed. If you could please, maybe not tonight, but at the next time we bring up amendment to Title 21, if we could address some of those questions she submitted.
Happy to, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Denise Darnell.
Okay, hello. I'm Denise Darnell, living in Sammamish Woods. First of all, I want to thank all of you for your service last year, those of you who were on the council, and I want to welcome all the new council members. I'm really excited to see where this council can take our city, and I want to congratulate you and thank you for all of your hard work now and in the future. I also want to thank everyone who's here. I know we had a lot more people, but this is still amazing. So how many of you, this is your first city council meeting that you've been to? A couple in the back, yay. I'm really glad that we're all coming more. I always like to say I'm just one regular citizen that comes to city council meetings, but I try to represent the people that I talk with. And so I'm really glad that we're all getting more involved. A couple little notes I'd love to make for our new city council is, first of all, just I think people would really love proactivity. So what I mean by that is when we reach out and we email, which is the best way we find on the website to reach all of you, that we get a response. And maybe that means that every week everyone takes turns being in charge of emailing back, but making sure that everyone gets at least some kind of city response, I think would be lovely and makes us a kinder, friendlier community, and working together with the city staff to do the same, because I know they work really hard too. Secondly, of course, my love for the trees. We have this amazing city with these trees that are different and more vast than any other place near us. Let's continue to conserve them. Building 2,000 in the town center seems like the right decision. Not going to 4,000. I'm still going to keep talking about that, and I hope you will too. And then also the newsletter. So wow, what a chance. Our city mails that to every single person. It's pretty much the only thing that we all get. Issaquah City Council and city does an email to everybody, but we do this nice newsletter. However, I think we could be doing more with it. I would love to have it have a citizen voice where people can turn in maybe an article, share something about someone, and where nonprofits and schools can list their activities. So the Skyline Holiday Fair, the East Lake Holiday Fair, the Chinese New Year, which I know is advertised because it's a city event, but maybe there's the school plays. Skyline, East Lake, Eastside Catholic, Pine Lake, Beaver Lake, all do plays, and we often don't know about them. And then, of course, the sporting events. So it could be limited to schools and nonprofits. Speaking of that, having the fields be something that all of our local citizens and teams can afford, I think is another thing to look into. And just having that newsletter be a voice to let people know what's going on. Like, where can you take your recycling? How can you do this with the electricity? If you need help in paying your electricity bill, who can you call?
Thank you.
And that is all my time. Thank you for sharing and listening.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Heather Murphy-Rains.
Good evening. Heather Murphy-Rains, 20-year resident. Congratulations first, newly elected Sammamish City Council members, whom Save Our Sammamish supported. Your victories represent a clear, powerful mandate from residents demanding accountability, transparency, and governance that reflects our community. That said, we cannot ignore the context of this transition. It appears the city manager received a pay increase from the outgoing city council in December before newly elected members were seated. What exactly did he exceed expectations on to deserve a raise? Was it presiding over continued staff departures that drained institutional knowledge, leaving the city increasingly reliant on yes men who bend to developers? Was it overseeing costly legal entanglements like Inglewood and the city clerk's wrongful termination lawsuit that might have been avoided with stronger leadership, experience, and better judgment? These are fair questions, and the public deserves clear answers. Under the leadership of current council members Amy Lamb and Pam Stewart, residents repeatedly heard dire warnings about the threat of lawsuits to justify their 4K narrative. And yet, here we are anyways, with a lawsuit stemming under their watch from our former city clerk alleging wrongful termination after questioning directives. To me, this reflects a breakdown in leadership and organizational culture. All of these outcomes stem from decisions under the prior council's watch and under this city manager. We also saw the prior council end restoration of Sammamish's historic landmark, the Reared Freed House, resulting in the disbanding of the Sammamish Heritage Society. The loss of history, trust, grants, and community partnership was a choice, and it deserves accountability. Another choice was a council and city manager who allowed a developer to cut down 100-year heritage trees in our parks for developer convenience and profit. We saw that what happened during the Inglewood debacle, also under the last council, where our city attempted to shift road maintenance costs onto residents. We also saw overwhelming public opposition to town center density plans in the jot form dismissed. We saw community needs ignored during the bomb cyclone. And now we face serious concerns about how new state laws are being implemented locally, particularly in Laurie estates. Rezoning pressures could upend neighborhood character, harm our environment, and impose significant costs. These are not isolated events. They reflect a pattern of decision-making that discounted public input and downgraded public services. This last election made it clear that our city works for the people, not for developers, special interests, or political machines. The election underlined that council members and city managers are public servants. Listening matters, as does civility. To some council members, perhaps less name-calling and false accusations on social media and telling residents to just move would be warranted. We deserve transparent, responsible leadership that protects our environment and quality of life, allows staff to raise concerns without fear, and makes decisions openly in the public interest. To the council members who promise to listen, restore trust, your choices shape safety, affordability, infrastructure, wildlife, and the fabric of our community. Please govern with integrity, as I know you will.
Thank you.
And allow smart growth.
Next up, we have Stephanie Valea.
Good afternoon, City Council members. Happy New Year and happy first meeting of the year. My name is Stephanie Valea, and I am a Sammamish resident of nearly my entire life of 18 years. As the newly elected council begins its work, I believe it is important to reflect on some key takeaways and areas for improvement from the past year. 2025 was a difficult year for many of us, as Sammamish faced the most consequential decisions in a long time. One lesson we can carry into the new year is the importance of engaging in meaningful, respectful conversations during each city council meeting. I believe that no vote should go undiscussed. Council members should listen to each other carefully, approach differing perspectives with open minds, and compromise when possible. Disagreement is inevitable, but good leaders can use it productively to move towards progress. I encourage the 7 of you to work together as a team as much as possible. Another issue I ask the council to consider is city staffing as you work to address budget gaps. Sammamish is currently facing a structural budget imbalance, which makes smart spending critical. The imbalance may have contributed to low staff morale, high turnover, and extended vacancies. A new year and a new council bring opportunities for positive change. The utility tax was a strong step in the right direction, and I urge you to continue thinking innovatively as you work to address these budget challenges and fill staff vacancies. Personally, I believe that hiring a city arborist is not simply a nice to have, but rather a beneficial, defensible investment. If I took away anything from 2025, it is that Sammamish residents should always come first. Their voices should be taken seriously and thoughtfully considered, and the will of the majority should ultimately be reflected in city decisions. Part of this is ensuring that all who want to speak are given the chance and every word is heard, even when a public comment goes over time. Whatever the council decides moving forward, I ask that you consistently turn to the people for guidance. You do not have to agree with the general public. It is entirely normal not to. However, I hope you will always strive to understand these perspectives and, when appropriate, put issues to a public vote. That is what you were elected to do. I am a resident who is passionate about protecting the city's wildlife and environment. I know residents who are passionate about a healthy economy, safe roads, access to amenities, or community events. It is rare to make everyone happy with city decisions. So why does this matter? It It matters because our resident voices put together dictate the future we want for our city, the city where we live, raise families, and build livelihoods. We trust that you, as council members, will strive to do what is best given your personal knowledge while at the same time uplifting resident opinions. Thank you for your service to the Sammamish community. I know you will take good care of our city, and I look forward to seeing Sammamish grow and prosper under your leadership. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you very much, and for staying within your time so I didn't have to cut you off after your request. Next up, we have Eileen Fitzgerald.
Okay. Good evening, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. My name is Eileen Fitzgerald, and my husband and I own a home in the Waverly Hills neighborhood, which we've lived in for the past 24 years. I'm here tonight to express my support for the Planning Commission's proposed changes to SMC Title 21 regarding district standards for residential density and dimensions. To put a human face on this issue, last year my husband had triple bypass surgery, and after several complications and a lengthy recovery, we realized that if we wanted to stay in our home and age gracefully in place, we needed to make some changes. Unfortunately, through the permitting process, we discovered that due to last year's code change limiting our home's entire square footage to 3,000 square feet, we would not be able to make any improvements at all. So we went into research mode, and through that process, we met David Pyle and Avril Beatty, who actually took the time to meet with us and explain how this ruling had come to be, and explain that the city was trying to actually solve a larger issue, and this was an unintended consequence. We also attended and spoke at the Planning Commission meeting, whose members were extremely gracious and truly listened and cared about our concerns. The Planning Commission's proposed changes that remove restrictions on primary entry floor size, along with their other proposed changes, would strike a balanced approach between maintaining the city's intent around scale and neighborhood character, while better reflecting the homes, how homes are designed and accessed today. These changes would still allow you to protect against oversized middle housing development, but also allow property owners the flexibility to build and renovate their homes to meet their specific needs. In closing, I'd like to thank the council for listening to your residents and for your willingness to modify legislation that is causing harmful repercussions. We love living in Sammamish, and we want to stay here in our hopefully forever home forever. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Lisa Steele and then Paul Stickney.
Hi, City Council. Lisa Steele, Sammamish resident. I just wanted to take a brief moment, as everybody else has, to thank you so much. It's such an honorable job to be a public servant, and as Mary Oliver would say, this one wild and precious life, and you're choosing to spend this time here taking care of our beautiful city. So thank you. It really is acknowledged and appreciated, even if you don't often feel that. And the other thing I wanted to quickly say is, as I've spoke to before, I don't feel like any acts are too small. And with the beautiful land acknowledgement that Councilmember Stewart gave, that we give each time, I've noticed and felt so grateful that you have compostable cups and compostable coffee cups. However, there isn't a compost container in the room. And I would really love if the city was an example for how composting is just as easy to do as recycling, with good signage, as people really do need to be educated. I don't think the contract with Republic is up this year, but I would hope that, I know it was a great opportunity. Councilmember Lamb really tried to work with getting compost around the city more. I live in an apartment and we don't have compost, and that is such an important piece of moving forward with our climate action plan. So if that can continue to be worked on, both large issue in the city and small with something like having a compost container with good signage, that would be great. Thank you so much and congratulations.
Thank you very much. Paul Stickney?
Good evening, City Council. Congratulations on new council members and elected mayor and, deputy mayor, Paul Stickney, Sammamish. I'm not going to read exactly what's on the sheet, but I am going to mention what it refers to. I agree totally and completely with we as a community need to figure out what the best way forward is in our community. And I assert something. I grew up in Los Angeles, and I used to enjoy going to the Museum of Science and Industry. And one thing I loved was that big pinball thing, I called it, but it was a random distribution curve where you drop one ball and it goes bounce, 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 and hundreds of them create a statistical bell curve. Well, I want to assert that from a local perspective, not a regional one, that our community doesn't have anywhere near affordable housing anywhere on that curve, but of even far greater magnitude, our community is missing market rate middle housing primarily from 500 to $1.4 million. We have a ton of folks with high-end homes, and I just did some work. I keep a search. I'm in real estate. I have a search that goes back through the year 2000. And if you take away the number of single-family homes that were added in our community since we incorporated, which was close to 6,000 single-family homes, half by King County and half by us from 1999 till now. If you take those out of that equation, we've had as a city approximately 1,100 or 1,200 housing units a year sell. And I don't have an exact number. I would be telling a fib if I said I had a precise number, but I have an anecdotal number in talking to a lot of real estate agents and people in city council meetings over time. Roughly 20 to 30% of people would like to stay in Sammamish, but there's not really a good choice for it. So what I have been working on is an increase of housing types that are fueled by authentic bottom-up need and want, not by regional needs. And what I've said, and is a part of what is turned in here, I'm not going to have time to cover all this, but I've sent a lot of information in, but nowhere near all that I've amassed, but enough in a new way and format. I encourage you to go through and look, and let's have a conversation, because I believe it is very, very real that if we add market rate and affordable at price points we don't have now, mostly in centers, not necessarily town center, but all centers and not the neighborhoods, they'll only contribute about a quarter of the traffic and students and have hooray for HAE.
Thank you.
Holistic added enrichments. Okay, thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, do we have anyone for online public comment?
We do. Per the reasonable accommodation policy, if you have pre-registered and wish to make a public comment, please raise your hand now. I'm promoting our first public commenter. Doria, when you're ready.
For giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Doria Holbrook, and I have been a Sammamish resident for about 10 and a half years now. And I'm here to express strong support for removing the 3,000 square foot building footprint restriction that you'll be voting on later tonight. First, I think one thing that it's important to clarify is what does a building footprint actually mean? Because it's not just the living space. It's your garage, your roof eaves, your covered porches, and other sheltered areas. And in Sammamish, where rain is frequent and we love to live and enjoy the outdoors, that comes with muddy boots. And, these features on our homes, they're not luxuries. They are really about making homes functional and safe. Covered entries keep families dry. Roof overhangs protect our siding and foundation, and garages help provide that secure transition for both children, seniors, and anyone with mobility challenges. Yet under the current rules, these practical features count against the same footprint limit as interior space does. So I'd like to share a little bit more about how this regulation is affecting me and my family as a resident. We purchased a 4-acre lot just before the new law went into place, with the singular goal of building a single-level home for multi-generational living. This includes caring for our aging parents, creating a welcoming environment for our nephew with cerebral palsy who wants to come visit and stay with us, and a home that can help us live in it over the next 50 years while we age gracefully, as one of my co-residents already said. And accessibility for that also means, for our family, it means minimizing stairs, adding covered transitions, and really creating spaces that work for everyone. And a single level layout with porches and attached garage isn't about building mass, it's about building a safer home. But under the current restriction, that's impossible. And so I respect the original intent behind the footprint rule, limiting the massive buildings that may arise from middle housing development in residential neighborhood. It's something that we also support, but this current approach is just too restrictive for current residents and property owners, and it really forces homes to grow vertically or sacrifice essential features like garages. So removing the restriction doesn't mean unchecked development. It just restores flexibility so families can design homes that fit their land, their needs, and Sammamish's climate while still respecting the character of our community. So the amendment that David and his team has proposed, it's balanced, it's practical, and it supports accessibility and long-term livability for families like mine. And I urge you to approve it. Thank you for the time.
Thank you very much for your comment.
That's all for online public comment.
Okay, thank you very much. And with that, we will close public comment. Up next is approval of the consent calendar. Does any council member like to pull any items from the consent calendar?
I move that we adopt the I'll wait. Never mind. Speaking now.
Councilmember Lamb.
I wanted to pull consent item number 7, that is the Adobe renewal license.
Okay, number 7, we'll move that to new business. Are there any other items we would like to pull from consent? Okay, I'm sorry, Councilmember Boyer. Oh.
I wanted to move that we adopt I have no problem with pulling that item, it's automatic, but I'd like to move that we adopt the consent calendar with the exception of item 10, which the city would like to bring back to us as an item to discuss on the 20th.
Just to clarify, it's approval of the consent calendar with removal of item 7 and moving item 10 to the next.
Correct.
Okay. We have a motion, and do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Can we just clarify again exactly what we're doing here?
So we are referring to item number 10. There was a significant number of questions that the staff didn't have time to answer for us, and they requested that we push it to the next council meeting in order to have time to answer it.
Item number 10.
Item number 10 is the contract authorization for the pavement condition survey management.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. All right, and up next is new business. David Pyle and Avril Beatty. We're going to be discussing amendments to Sammamish Municipal Code Title 21 to correct minor errors, clarify intent, and remove redundant or outdated language. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Mayor Amato. Good evening and welcome to all of the new council members. Congratulations. Welcome to Deputy Mayor Treen. Happy to see you all here this evening for the first meeting of the year. As Avril Beatty is being promoted as a panelist in Zoom so she can share her screen, I'll go ahead and provide an introduction. This topic is some proposed amendments to Title 21 that came from a docket that was put in place in the end of 2024 that allowed us to amend or make code amendments as part of implementation to new development regulations. We knew at the time that we didn't have everything right, and we knew that there might be some adjustments, as I put it, turning the dials, moving the levers in order to get the right outcome. And I'm really thankful to the Sammamish community members that have helped us understand where some of the unintended consequences might be. Some of them spoke this evening. There are some others that provided written comment in the agenda for this, as part of the agenda for this evening. So really thankful for them for taking the time to show up and provide comment as well. We're here to provide a presentation, answer questions this evening, and then this will be followed up on February 3rd with a proposed public hearing and possible ordinance amending Title 21. With that, I'll turn it over to Avril Beatty, who is our current Planning and Permit Center manager and who ultimately supervises the team of staff that are responsible for implementing our development regulations. Avril.
Good evening. Avril Beatty, current Planning and Permit Center Manager. Thank you, David, for stalling. So this evening, we are here after going through 3 rounds with the Planning Commission and receiving a recommendation that is included in the packet for some code cleanup. As mentioned in the packet and referenced by David, we heard a lot from the community. You've heard from the community this evening as well. And so we discovered some snags. We discovered things that were out of date. We discovered things that were moot. So we were happy to be able to bring together these cleanup items. And so we are going to hopefully quickly and efficiently go through them. So as I mentioned, if you had a chance to read through the packet, there are things that are moot due to legislation that has been adopted by the state. So this is one of them. I don't want to bore you with details, but if you have questions, I can bore you with details. But I figured we'll go through this. If you have questions, let me know and we'll tackle them. So this is repealing language that has been repealed by HB 1376. Another issue that came up as we've been reviewing a lot of sort of inquiries and considerations for development from residents and developers was the question of cottage housing. And we realized that in the big push for the adoption of middle housing regulations, we didn't have a definition. And so looking at other cities within the region, it turned out we just needed something that really needed to nail down a square footage. And so within the region, 1,200 to 1,700 square feet was sort of the general range. So staff, in our infinite wisdom, decided that the 1,500 square foot threshold felt appropriate because that was the cutoff, that's the size of a home that would be exempt from inclusionary affordable housing calculations. So that was the number that we are proposing as part of this amendment that's supported by Planning Commission. So there were questions about cottage homes, and so I just want to clarify that this does not include the garage, it's the home size itself. So you could have your 1,500 square foot cottage home, your 400, 500 square foot garage, and you would still be exempt from the inclusionary affordable housing calculations, yes?
Yeah, I want to add one thing to that. I agree with everything Avril said, and thank you for all that. One thing I want to highlight is that the intent behind the cottage housing regulations is a different form of development that is not traditional single family. It is not intended to provide for flexibilities to simply build more large homes. What their intent really is that you're taking advantage of, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but you're trying to assess opportunities on the property to protect natural features such as clusters of trees, other amenities that might be located on the property, and it allows flexibility to cluster cottage homes, to consolidate garages and access points, and that really is the intent behind cottage housing allowances. What we were finding is that developers were coming in and trying to use the cottage housing allowances. We did not have a square footage limitation on what was defined as cottage housing, and there's a bit of a loophole here where a developer could come in and take advantage of cottage housing allowances and flexibilities and end up building much larger homes than what was originally intended as cottage housing. So we're simply trying to close that loophole.
And also to clarify, if there is a cottage home with an attached garage, if that garage were to be proposed to be converted to an accessory dwelling unit, it is still a separate unit from the cottage home. And so the cottage home would still maintain its 1,500 square foot limit, and any garage conversion would just have to conform to the applicable accessory dwelling unit regulations. Any questions on the cottage homes?
Oh, yes. Councilmember Boyer.
Yes, I was wondering, Mr. Mayor, do you want us to wait until everyone's done so we go through everything, or do you want to take it as we see these come up?
I think we'll do it. I'm sorry.
As they come up?
I think as they come. Okay. I'm fine with as they come up then.
Great. All right. Hey, guys. Just some quick questions on why we're doing this. And I emailed separately, and Mr. City Manager replied. But I'm curious, it seems like the definition matters, but the name could be anything, right? I mean, you could call it scrambled eggs or whatever. It's just because the state law lists these different typologies, right? I'm just wondering, what else are we having to define? So is there a suitable or common definition of all the other 27 different types that are out there? And why was this necessary? Have we done this with all of these?
There are already definitions within the municipal code for other types of housing
in
types.
our code?
Right,
Oh.
right. And this was a gap
This is the only one that we didn't define.
that we have caught.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
And we'll own this. This is a loophole that we oversight on our part in writing the regulations, and there was a lot of work happening. And one of the reasons why we docketed these changes was that we wanted to be able to come back to you as we see things crop up very quickly in order to address these before we get applications in the door that might result in an unintended outcome that we don't like.
So developer, rather than saying the spec on a home, they'll use a term of cottage housing to mean something. Is that why we do this?
They could.
They potentially could. So there's the middle housing regulations have a lot of nuance to them, and cottage homes are specifically called out as a type.
Yes.
But because we didn't have that definition, as David was saying, someone could come in and say, I'm going to build cottage homes and they're all 2,500 square feet. And so we were trying to get around that, and people also were trying to understand, what is the maximum? What is the city going for? And so looking at the intent behind the legislation, the intent behind our local ordinance was to have these smaller, modest homes that would be more affordable. And 1,500 square feet is still a decent size home.
And the state didn't define any of these for any municipality, correct?
Not for the square footage. They gave a general definition of what its intent was, but they didn't give the specificity that we are looking for.
So every city gets to say what they think a cottage home is.
Yeah.
The state law does say that it must include 20% of lot open, dedicated as common open space in order for it to qualify as a cottage housing cluster. That is one component that is found in state law.
And by saying it's a cottage home, what's the consequence of saying it's a cottage home?
So if someone comes to us and says, I want to build a bunch of small residences, and they never use the term cottage home,
yes,
then we would just look at our regulations and say, oh, based on what you're describing, the way you want to kind of lay things out, the number that you're looking for, would be what we would define as cottage homes. And so we would help guide someone and explain what the options are. Do you want to do cottage homes that are these like cluster of modest-sized homes that are ideally sort of put together? Or are you looking for a collection of like duplexes or triplexes? And we try to explain what the various options are, and then how the regulations may or may not be applied to various product types.
Very good. Yeah. So my questioning is not just to quiz you or waste your time. But from public comments and other things that people have said, I'm weary of unintended consequences, because we sometimes make these rules and unbeknownst to us, all of a sudden it's like, well, we can't do something that would be common sense and logical. And I don't want to have something like this preclude someone from doing something that would be reasonable in our estimation. So if that is the case, how do we manage a situation like we heard this evening?
So fortunately, we have a work environment where there is support for staff when we come across issues, when we're working with residents and we see these unnecessary or unintended snags, to be able to come relatively quickly back to Planning Commission and City Council to propose changes to make those amendments. And so we actually have a bit of a laundry list of things that we would like to change. And so we were just, trying to figure out what would fit on this plate.
Very good.
And if this, not that it doesn't work, but if it turns out, oh, you know what, like we really need 1,700 square feet, or, we actually decide we want 1,200 square feet. Whatever, there's feedback from the community, we can come back again.
Got it. So would you say that the intent of this is for resident benefit?
Yeah.
Flexibility for life cycle, use of homes. I will add that in the 25 years I've been doing this, I've not had a year go by where we have not had a unintended consequence come up. Sure. It is a normal thing as part of the work we do. There are different tools that we have in place to address that. The easiest one that we have is just working through it between the applicant and the staff, or the property owner and the staff, and trying to find a way to redesign it. There's lots of examples of that. The next tool that we have in the toolkit is called a code interpretation, and that is where we're able to issue a formal code interpretation for an applicant or a property owner, or even a neighbor who maybe doesn't like a project or wants to see it different outcome. We can issue that code interpretation, and that is appealable to the city's hearing examiner. And there can be a hearing on that, and it could be debated, and we could find a path forward. The next step we have above that is a variance. And if there is a hardship or that is not a grant of special privilege, we can issue a variance, and that's appealable to a hearing examiner.
Okay.
And then finally, beyond that, we have legislative action that changes the regulations to address something. So in this case, we don't think any of those other tools are appropriate. We think we really need to address the loophole by way of changing this. I think of code in terms of two things. One is, what is the tool and what is the setting? So if you're okay with the tool that we're regulating the size of a cottage, and we can get there, then we've moved past that. Now we're talking about the setting. The setting, the dial, clicking the dial one way or the other, is very easy for us to change. It's harder for us to wholesale add new tools or remove tools from the development regulations, because those I think of it like a giant Etch-a-Sketch. And every time you turn the dials on the Etch-a-Sketch, it creates a picture of what the house and the outcome will be. And when you remove one of the dials on the Etch-a-Sketch, it really changes the whole thing altogether. And we have to rethink about how to balance everything.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for that. I can draw a straight line on an Etch-a-Sketch fairly well. So thank you. Thank you for your time.
Council. Next up, we have Councilmember Stewart.
Yeah, thank you, guys. If I understand correctly, the goal of cottage housing, when you look up kind of a generic definition, it talks about having it be a smaller detached home. And if I understand what you guys were saying, is that it's possible that people could use the other regulations around cottage housing with the clustering, but still build larger homes. And this is all part of the HB 1110, I believe, right, where it talks about affordable housing and affordable housing types. And the 1,500 ties it to the number that we chose as a council to say anything 1,500 or below will be exempt from fees because they're considered affordable. So that's what we're trying to do, is kind of keep that consistency. Is that fair?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I also want to say that, in line with public comment we heard this evening about different supplies of housing, market rate housing, different size housing. We don't build housing as a city. We provide regulations that ultimately help drive land economics and what type of housing might be built. Many of the rules that you see that are in the middle housing rule sets are intended to drive builders towards trying to build smaller market affordable units. Trying to do what we're being asked to do by some of the comments we heard this evening. And at the end of the day, it depends on where we set those controls that drive land economics that ultimately makes, and I know this has been something we've talked about in the past, it viable to a developer, feasible to a developer. If it's not feasible to a developer, they won't build it. So if we want a developer to build more market affordable housing, we need to provide incentives and adjust land economics in a manner that ultimately makes them choose that over building a large, less attainable single family home.
Excellent. And again, that's not us trying to help the developers. It's more trying to help people to make sure that we get what our community needs in terms of housing. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I've got two quick questions here. Did anyone actually take advantage of the loophole?
No.
No.
Okay. And then on the 1,500 square foot, did we receive any feedback from any builders about the viability of that number?
We did a little bit, yes. They immediately asked the question of, is the garage included? And we said, no, it's not. And they said, oh, great.
Okay.
So there is a master builders, small builders group, and we have received direct feedback from that group. Previously, when we were talking about the inclusionary affordable housing requirements that the city has, and that carries directly into this, that it's roughly seen by that group that a 1,500 square foot unit, you could build a 3-bedroom home within a 1,500 square foot unit if you're not including the garage. You could also include in the garage I want to call it a multi-use space that could be part of the garage. That, and as we heard in the Northwest, we do have muddy boots. We do need art space. We need rec space. So if you're building your garage to include some of that space, and it could be included as part of the garage and not part of what is considered to be the living space of the home.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. So next, under definitions, we wanted to clarify under accessory dwelling unit that an accessory dwelling unit is separate living space with its own entrance from the rest of the house. This doesn't mean that you cannot have an internal connection. We absolutely understand the value in having that internal connection, but we were seeing quite a few applications for homes where there was going to be an accessory dwelling unit that you could only access from inside the house. So any future owner wouldn't be able to actually have it separate. And then other ones where you would have no exterior door. And so generally these were proposals to circumvent our floor area ratio regulations. They just wanted additional living space and not have it count towards that, what we refer to as FAR, that FAR calculation. Like, well, that regulation is in place for a reason. We have allowances for an ADU because you're increasing the housing stock. If you're not increasing the housing stock, you don't get to take advantage of it. So this is why we wanted to clean up this definition and really nail down what we were intending. And in looking at other jurisdictions, they generally all have very similar language to indicate the independent living nature and even the exterior entrance component within their definitions. So independent just means access and living space that is not through another living unit. So they can be attached units, but that doesn't mean you're going through somebody else's living room or bedroom or kitchen to get to your living space. However, we do understand, because we are in the Pacific Northwest, that there are opportunities to have 2 units where you have your primary and you've got your casita or whatever you want to call it here. And you could have a little common entryway where it's common space where each house then, or each unit then has its own access. If for some reason the aesthetic is to only have one front door, go into a common hall or a common foyer and then go into your unit. So we're not trying to prohibit that with this definition. We don't think that we are. If there was real pushback against that, we could do a director's interpretation. We hope it's not necessary. Are there any questions about this definition cleanup?
I do have one, if no others, I do have one clarifying question. Is there a requirement for an exterior entrance? For example, a basement conversion, you enter from the shared foyer. Is there now a requirement that they have an exterior exit directly outside?
If you have access through a common space, not a private space, that would be allowed. You don't have to have an additional doorway. You just have to have egress per building code for any bedrooms.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Next.
We can continue. Thank you.
So the next item is creating a definition for area-wide rezoning. With the code updates that occurred last year, where we now have a quasi-judicial rezoning process, we recognize that people were asking, well, I don't qualify for the quasi-judicial rezoning process, so what am I? So in looking through the regulations and trying to make sure that we weren't creating any undue conflicts or other issues that could occur within the code, we decided we just needed to clean up within the applicability section of the quasi-judicial rezoning section, that if something didn't qualify for that, it was an area-wide rezoning and would require a docket request. So we just wanted to clarify that with this amendment. Are there any questions?
And thank you for the comment. We received a comment from Mayor Amato earlier about, I think it was your comment, right, about the numbering. And you passed the test. You read the code, and you did identify that there is a numbering error in there. That's we just need to fix the typo that's in there.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And yes, those are additional criteria. It should not read 1A, B, and then 2 and 3. It should read 1A, B, C, D.
And we always love fresh eyes on any part of our code. If any of you ever see anything that looks wonky, please let us know. Maybe it's a Scrivener's error and we can just clean it up lickety-split.
Those types of errors we can simply have cleaned up by code publishing. It doesn't require a legislative action or an ordinance.
Yeah. So for the next, this was another new section of code that resulted from middle housing regulations, where a new thing that we have is called a unit lot subdivision. This is to allow middle housing where you could have a larger parent lot. So if someone has their 2-acre home site and they want to, build a couple of duplexes in the back and have it where they can sell them off, but they still want to have it under one parent lot, we realize that under the unit lot definition, if you were to create these little child lots within the parent lot, that it couldn't be for a duplex and it couldn't allow for condominiumizing, I think there's too many syllables there, within that child unit lot. So we just wanted to clarify, we weren't intending to make it a 1-to-1 ratio, so that's why we were just cleaning up this definition. We have yet to receive any applications for unit lot subdivisions. We're hoping it wasn't this holding them up, but you never know. So we're hoping that this just allows for that flexibility that we were intending as we move forward. Any questions?
Nope, it doesn't look like it.
Okay. This next item is purely a cleanup. we had a section of code that referenced a 15-day comment period for a process. We have in our code a standard 21-day comment period, and this was conflicting with that, and so we just want to strike this out of the code and have our consistent 21-day period and not have to deal with someone saying, but this says it's only 15. So we hope there's no objections. Okay, great. This next one is a small change to how land use applications stay alive, how they stay valid once they get approved. Examples that we've had have been conditional use permits that have been issued for churches to do an expansion or to do a modification, and it's generally a 2-year term for them to establish the approved use, which is to have a completed building permit. And churches have a hard time raising the money that they need to do. And so we realized that to allow for better flexibility and for someone to have gone through a land use entitlement process, to allow a little bit more flexibility for them to get whatever ducks in a row that they need to get in a row, this allows a little bit more grace period. Any questions about this one? Okay. So this next one, shoreline substantial development permits. We see these almost exclusively for docks, like new docks or dock repairs for people who live along the various lakes. So these are currently require a public hearing to the hearing examiner. Takes a lot of time, takes a lot of coordination, and it's for a residential dock. And the last nearly 7 years that I've been here, we've taken a couple of dozen to the hearing examiner. Oftentimes there's zero controversy. He will often give us a verbal approval at the hearing because we have very strict regulations for our shoreline development. If they're meeting all the criteria, there's not really much for him to do. So this was put into place. So moving it to a type 2 would mean making it a staff decision that would then be appealable to the Shorelines Hearings Board. This used to be the process in Sammamish prior to the trail.
2016.
There you go. So when the trail was being proposed by the county, the city decided there needed to be a better venue for the residents to be able to express all of their concerns and to have a third party, the hearing examiner, provide the decision. So it was changed to a type 4, and we've been doing that ever since. We don't need to keep doing things just because we've been doing them. So we're hoping that you please support us streamlining this. It'd be a lot less work for staff, it'd be a lot easier on the residents. Please let me know if you have any questions.
It does change the process, as Avril said. The comment period remains the same. It just who the decision maker is and where the appeal goes is a different process.
Okay. All right. So this modification is to streamline the permitting review process. Currently, if you have a short plat, a short subdivision of land, you have to wait until the final plat is recorded with King County and you have legal lots of record before you can submit building permits to be reviewed for those new lots, which means that a property will sit there with vacant graded lots for several additional months while building permits are being reviewed. And at that point, the site work, the site design, the controls and protections for any critical areas and trees have already been established through the preliminary plat process. And so then the site's kind of sitting there. By allowing a submittal of a building permit application, this is just the submittal of the application to be reviewed concurrently, allows a little bit of parallel review while site work is being done. We would not issue permits until the final plat is recorded. there would not be issuance of anything until then. So this just allows a little bit of streamlining. And let me know what questions you have.
I do not see any, council. Nope, you're in the clear now.
Okay. So the one we've all been waiting for. As part of the regulations that were adopted for middle housing, part of the direction from the state is that we cannot be more restrictive on middle housing than on any other housing, like single family. So at the time, the city adopted the 3,000 square foot footprint limitation, and we realized, oh, there's no exemption for schools or other civic uses. Oops. So we wanted to get that changed. And then we were getting all these residents saying, I just want to do 100 square feet. I just want to do a covered patio. I just want to age in place, and you're not letting me. Like, I'm sorry, I can't. So our initial thought was, how about we allow a small one-time, up to 300 square foot modification. Like, let's take that to Planning Commission and see where this goes. So we took that to Planning Commission, and we had extensive discussions. I'm sure you all watched. It was very riveting. And it was great to hear all of their thoughts and their concerns, and the residents coming out and expressing what they were looking for, and everybody sort of coming to the consensus that, this was really about the mass. This was really about the mass above the ground floor. So why don't we just not regulate the ground floor any more than we would already with setbacks, with impervious surface, with lot coverage, with floor area ratio? We have so many rules. So let's take the 3,000 square foot footprint away from the ground floor and any floor accessed from grade, and just limit that 3,000 square feet to any above floor. So we don't have, I don't know how many we would get anyways, something that's more than 3,000 square feet. That's a floor or two above the grade, but that remains to be seen. So so this is the regulations that we've redlined so far. This does require including a definition of floor. We love defining things. It's what we do. And I just wanted to show examples of homes. These were 2 building permit submittals that we had to put on hold because we could not legally approve them under today's regulations. This is in addition to what you've heard from Eileen. And we probably have about 3 other ones that are also in, circling the runway at the moment. We would love to hear from you. We would love to hear if you want to make any other changes to this regulation, or if you like it as it is, whatever thoughts or questions you have.
I want to add one thing to that, if I may. And so when we put that 3,000 square foot limit in place, the intent behind that was that we wanted to guard against large middle housing buildings, duplexes, triplexes, stacked flats, townhomes, where somebody might be complying on a broader scale across the property with the lot coverage, the setbacks, the impervious surface, stormwater, tree protection, but that they still could build a 4,000 or 5,000 square foot footprint and go 3 stories in height, which would result in 12,000, 15,000 square foot building volumes. And that is a real thing that could actually happen. Not likely at the level of 15,000, but it really depends on the property, the access, the land economics, and how a builder will proceed with that. And if they could do it, they might do it. And one of the things I've learned in the 10 years I've been here is that community character, in the sense of architectural character and massing and building scale and compatibility with the single family neighborhood, is really important. So we did put that regulation in place. We do allow attached garages by way of unheated breezeway, and that is something we have multiple examples of that. So you could build 3,000 square foot buildings, attach them by an unheated breezeway, and you could get away with that. However, it still does constrain what somebody can do on the ground floor or the floor where they take primary access from. So this is something we've learned that is really an important change. But if we limit it to the ground floor or the floor where you take access from, what that does is any floor plate above that is limited to 3,000 square feet. It necessarily necks down the scale and bulk of the building to be more relevant to what single family architecture might, or a single family neighborhood might result in.
Thank you. Up first, we have a question from Councilmember O'Farrell.
It's really more of a comment. Avril, thank you for your presentation. I did watch all the Planning Commission meetings, and I want to congratulate the Planning Commission on a really robust discussion, particularly on this particular item. And I liked Chair Bachman's amendments to the motion, and I see that you've incorporated them into today's presentation. So I like it, the way you wrote it. I want to thank the community as well for coming and telling us about their experience when they go to make amendments to their homes, when they want to age in place. I think that's really important going forward. I hope a lot of us will want to do that and remain in Sammamish, and I wanted to make it easier for all of us if we ever get to that point where we can make those decisions more easily. So thank you for making the changes the Commission had recommended. Thank you, Planning Commission, for working so hard on this issue. Those meetings were really informative. I liked your blue and green house. And so thank you. When commissions do this great work, they make the work for the council a little easier because they take the time to really get into the weeds and discuss things that sometimes we don't have the time to do. So thank you, Commission, for working so hard, and I appreciate everything you guys have done. So thank you.
Thank you. We have Councilmember Boyer.
Yeah, could you guys go back one slide? Let's see. I'd like, unlike Councilmember O'Farrell, who participated or watched all of those, I apologize, I did not. So I'd like to understand one time, the discussion behind saying it's a one-time allowance, meaning one time for that owner, one time for that unit, forever and ever. Could you clarify?
Yeah. So the initial proposal was to allow only a one-time expansion, and then the conversation shifted to, well, what if we don't regulate the ground floor? And then we decided, well, why not do both? So the one-time cumulative expansion is for any upper level floor. So this would not, so you could still sprawl out within the other development regulations, your main entry floor. Anything above that would be, so if you already have a second and third floor that are already 3,000 square feet, congratulations on being so successful in life that you are able to afford that property tax. So you would be allowed a one-time expansion of those two floors of 300 square feet total. So if you needed to bump out for like an elevator, you would have enough square footage to go up for both of those floors for that amount. If you decide to have it all 300 square feet on one floor, I don't care how you slice and dice it, sure. But a one-time expansion for those levels.
And so my question is more around the one time, meaning
under one building permit.
Under
So
the life of the
it is a
dwelling.
common rule in non-conforming properties. So for legal non-conforming properties that were developed prior to a change in zoning regulations, and there are many in the city, in every city in Washington, really, it is fairly common that a 10% expansion, one time 10% expansion is allowed for that non-conforming structure. And it is something that is tracked by way of property records, permits. It is common practice for that category. Now, if we wanted to eliminate this, we'd be okay with that. We have seen a few circumstances where a homeowner wanted to add an elevator to the exterior of their house, and they elegantly integrated it into the architecture of their home. That's the type of thing we're talking about here. Or a cantilevered expansion on a mother-in-law unit upstairs, in the house, or something to add a kitchen or something like that is really what we're talking about. It's that flexibility, but still at the same time holding the line for middle housing so that we don't get a lot of large volume buildings in the city, which is what I've heard from community members is not desirable.
Yeah, I was just thinking if this is one time for that dwelling, somebody earlier does a wine cellar, 20 years later they need an elevator. They cannot.
They would not. And we have had those circumstances with non-conforming structures where they've already taken advantage of that 10% expansion.
Councilmember Stewart.
Yeah, just help me understand. So the original code says that the maximum square footage would be 3,000 on the ground floor. And by making the upper floor, let's just say it's 2 stories, by making the second floor 3,000, does that change what you can do on the ground floor at all? Like what does that mean? So for example, if you talked about like, hey, I want to do some sort of a cantilever, like, there's no limit on the ground floor at all?
So we have lots of other regulations that would still apply. So let's pretend like someone's got a flat, unencumbered 1 acre lot, and they've got a 6,000 square foot house, 3,000 square foot footprint currently.
Yeah.
So under these regulations, there would be the footprint limitation would no longer apply to the ground floor. There are still regulations for floor area ratio, for setbacks, for lot coverage, for impervious surface, tree protection. Depending on where you are in the city, there could be drainage review. There could be, if there are critical areas, if there is tree preservation. So there's lots of other regulations that would still apply.
Right.
But if you're meeting all those other regulations, you just wouldn't have a square footage, you wouldn't have this limitation on the ground floor. And then the second floor would be allowed the one-time cumulative 300 square foot bump out of some sort.
So these are only for additions. These are only for existing.
Could be new.
Could be new. Okay.
Well, the expansion.
The expansion would be obviously an addition.
For an
but
addition,
the 3,000 square feet.
But if it's a vacant lot, because we have so many 1 acre vacant lots in the city, the second and third floors would be limited to the 3,000 square feet, but your ground floor would just be limited by all the other regulations.
Okay, because I definitely want to make sure that we remove the unintended consequences of preventing people from being able to make their homes accessible. But I do fear in that situation of, I have this large lot, and while, we have all these other regulations, we're still going to get some ginormous sprawling, gerbil habitat maze of a home on the ground floor.
It might be a single story gerbil maze.
Okay.
A rambler. So in the case of, you heard from, I think Doria was her name this evening, right? So they have a 4 acre property and they're looking at it. It's pretty flat. There are no trees on the property. It was a pasture in a past life. And they're looking at a tear down, rebuild. They're looking at a multi-generational house that can have multiple families, if you will, but they're all part of the same family in one. But they really need to build a rambler. And this footprint limit precludes them from doing that. Now, they could build, say, a 5,000 square foot footprint, and then they could build a 3,000 second story, right? And in that case, that necks it down. It keeps the volume down, going vertical. So we're really trying to split hairs here and find a balance. And I think we've also looked at, thank you to Eileen for coming in and talking to us, because we learned a lot by talking to her about how her home is designed. It's on slope. It takes its primary access from the second floor, but almost the entire lower floor is accessible as well. So do you limit the upper floor and not the lower floor? So that's where we started talking about the commission about where does the home take access from?
And so if I wanted to build this large rambler for multifamily, even if I said my main house was this and I had multiple accessory dwelling units under the current code, I'd still be limited to the 3,000. And that's part of the challenge. Is that accurate?
The second story.
But with this, it would be the second story, but currently it would limit the first story. So this way they could build, and I'm not picking on any one person, they, the theoretical they, could build a main unit and have attached accessory dwelling units so they could get that multi-generational, and it wouldn't be limited to 3,000 anymore, as long as it stayed one story and complied with all the other regulations.
Correct. And the 3,000 is, as it stands today, is really per building. So
Right.
you could have multiple buildings on your property, but what it does is it's limiting it. So that's where we got into how do we make this work? That's where we start to talk about how do we work with an applicant to redesign something a little
Right.
bit to make it work. And that's where we were looking at with Doria. Could they have a garage that is detached, a 3,000 square foot house in an unheated breezeway that connects the two?
So it's two separate buildings.
So it's two separate buildings. That was our creative workaround. But then we decided that
Let's fix the code instead.
let's fix the code.
Got it. Like it. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Anything else?
Okay, up next we have Councilmember Lamb.
Yeah, I was just curious on how the 300 square foot expansion, how was that number decided upon?
10% is, like David mentioned earlier, is a planning standard for expansions of legal nonconforming uses or structures, and it felt like it fit for this.
And then our city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As I'm sitting here listening to the discussion and after hearing Councilmember Boyer's comment about needing clarification around one time, on the slide where we show 3,000 square foot maximum per building, I'm wondering if it would be helpful under subsection 12 if we say a one time per building, cumulative 300 square foot expansion is allowed for any upper level floor. And the reason I say that is that might add clarity for the intent behind this. Just a suggestion.
Any comments on that suggestion?
We appreciate the friendly amendment.
So if there's no objections, we can add that into the drafted code, and then we can give a little shout out to Carrie and have that ready for you when we come back. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm getting ahead of myself. Any other questions?
Okay, I do not see any other questions. Thank you very much for your presentation tonight. It looks like this is going to be coming back to us on February 3rd as a public hearing. Is that right?
That's the plan.
Currently. Okay, so if anybody in the public would like to have their thoughts or questions answered, please email the city council or staff ahead of that time, and we'll do our best to get those answered for you.
And we will let those that have been involved in this, we will notify them of that as well. So they are sure to know that would be another opportunity to show up and provide comment.
Okay, thank you. And I want to thank specifically the people who issued public comment tonight on this for us, because one of the questions that came in to staff was, can you please give us some examples, some real life examples? You were very helpful in that. Okay, up next is...
Thank you, guys. That was really well done.
Up next is the item number 7 that we pulled from consent. Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, Mayor, technically, new item 12.
Item 12.
Yep.
Thank you.
And asked the Deputy City Manager to come up and speak to this item as it was on the consent calendar and is pulled. And so happy to speak to it, and then council can deliberate.
There we go. Good evening. For the record, Rachel Bianchi, Deputy City Manager. I'm here to speak to you all about the Adobe contract. We do use Adobe products in our everyday work here at the city in a variety of different uses. Some of us are signing things on a regular basis through Adobe, which I think most of you have probably done once or twice or 1,000 times, depending on your different roles. And then others of us use the products for more in-depth things. So as you know, Angie Millar, who was here earlier, our communications manager, does a lot of work with very different Adobe programs, from Photoshop to all of the other suite options. And then we have lots of other public-facing folks as well who use these for brochures, for coming up with content for different things. All of our IT folks use them to be able to provide support to folks who do use this suite of products as well. And so that's where we are with Adobe. Happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Lamb.
Yeah, so I was one who wanted to pull this off consent. I understand the need for Adobe Acrobat. That is a common tool that you use for document signing. I totally understand that. I am concerned about the cost for the 31 user license, simply because this particular program, Adobe Creative Cloud, is an industry standard suite of programs for creative professionals, and we don't have creative professionals on staff. We don't have graphic designers, we don't have animators, people that do motion, which is what these suite of programs are for. And within the last year or so, there are lower cost alternatives to this particular fairly expensive program. I understand that Angie uses it, and I'm just questioning the need for 31 users. It could just be 5. It could be the people that use it the most. I just think this is a very expensive program for people that aren't using it every day. And I'm happy to recommend alternatives that are lower cost to the IT director.
Thank you. We have Councilmember Treen.
Thank you. I actually agree with Councilmember Lamb's points. I'm used to, in most organizations, seeing experts who use the expert level Adobe product, and the average employee, even if they're producing that kind of work, has support from someone who is actually really well trained on it. I was also surprised to see 71 employees need this level of Adobe. It's typically a few people at an organization who are really experts and take care of that. And I wonder, it seems like it might require some restructuring of responsibility, and that's beyond my ability to comment on. But I just questioned whether this is really the most effective and efficient way to use that product. It's quite expensive.
Councilmember Stewart.
Yeah, just in hearing the comments, I guess the question that I have is there a way to get Adobe for sort of the everyday user and then limit the licenses for the more expensive product to fewer people? And have we looked at that, and do we know how much that would save us if we did that?
So we do have the lower end product for most of our users, right? So that is the 71, right? The 31 is the higher, the 31 is the higher number. We can look at limiting that number, and we're happy to go back and scrub the list of folks who do have access to that and reduce that number.
What's the cost per person, do we know?
The unit price for the higher version is $1,233.12.
A year?
A year.
Okay.
I did ask our IT director whether or not he thought if we lowered the number of licenses total for the full suite, if we could still get that price per unit. And he did say that he still thinks that we could get that price per unit. He did ask me to point out that the software expires on the 14th. So this is a renewal for January 15th. So we would be happy to look at lowering the number of the total suite licenses. Currently on this list is 31. We would be happy to look at a lower number for that, if that would, be more palatable to the council.
Is there a middle, I guess the other question is there like a middle product that, like, we could have the 71 gets the lowest level, 20 get the middle level, and then just a few get, the higher level? And again, how much does it save? Like, are we kind of splitting hairs, or is this a material amount of savings?
Great question. So as it's been relayed to me from the IT director, right, part of what we're looking at is Councilmember Lamb is absolutely correct, right? Adobe is a huge suite of amazing things, and we do not have anybody animating. Let's be really clear about that, right? However, once you add one thing of the suite, let's say Photoshop, right? Let's say we have parks folks using Photoshop for different things, right? Then it becomes economical just to buy the whole suite, as opposed to just adding on different add-ons for the different suite, right?
Okay.
So that's why we have the full suite for these folks. They're not using all of the products, but they're using just enough that it's more economical just to buy the full suite.
And then the other question, since the timing is such that our next meeting is a study session where we don't normally vote on things, is there a way that we could approve something tonight with a lower number so that things don't expire, and then if we have to come back and add more at the end of January, just so I don't want you guys to have nothing after the 14th?
Absolutely.
So is there?
Looking at a number, as a friendly amendment, could I offer 20 moving forward? This gives us the opportunity to really scrub the list. This would just be for 1 year, and we would come back and have be very detailed moving forward.
So before we get to adjusting the number down, I want to make sure we hear all the council members first, and then we can come back to what number is appropriate. Councilmember Stewart, are you completed?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
great. I think we can approve something tonight, and then we can come back and revisit it later if we need to.
Councilmember Boyer.
Yes, thanks, Rachel. I appreciate Councilmember Lamb's comment here because over the times that I've been a citizen, I've always wondered about our fiduciary responsibility. So I think every cent out there matters. Just from what you're saying, though, it was roughly $1,230 something per seat additional, right?
Per the suite.
Yeah, for the suite.
Yes, for the full suite of products.
Yeah, so to help make the decision, it'd be great to know the alternatives, because just throwing out a number and not knowing what that impact, it's really hard to say yes or no on something like that. So, for example, if it's 31 and we go to 5, I would be great to know what that financial impact would be, because if it's material, great. If it's immaterial, then what are we actually approving? So I don't know. I didn't expect you to have those numbers at your fingertips, but it would be very helpful to know the financial impact as we're making a decision.
So the current for the 31 is 38,000, and this does not include tax, to be clear, right? For the 31 is 38,226.72 cents. Rachel, math, if we did 5, would be a little over 6,000.
Yeah, my quick math here ended up, it would save us about 30 grand. So
Yes.
if I understood what was behind that quickly.
You added tax.
Taxes, I love that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Lamb.
So you mentioned Photoshop, that people, some of the staff use Photoshop. Photoshop is I just looked it up, $276 per year. So if you compare that to $1,200, I mean, it's substantially lower. These are programs I use every single day, so I'm very familiar with these programs. I'm very familiar with who would use it and in what capacity. And I haven't seen any product come out of the city that would require these programs. With the exception of the communications manager, there are lower cost alternatives that is not Adobe. And I can make those recommendations. I do not see the need for more than 3 Adobe All Apps licenses needed for the city. So.
Any other?
So I'd like to make a motion, please.
If I may, can I ask a question? Thank you. As you were getting the license numbers together, was there a matrix put together of which staff were using which programs and some defense of their need for those?
IT does have a list of the staff that have the licenses, yes.
Not that have the licenses, but need them. And if they didn't have them, what would happen?
We would need to go back and look at that, and we'd be happy to do that.
Okay. That would be if there's truly a need, but I tend to agree with Councilmember Lamb. Like I back when I used to do marketing, I used a lot of these programs as well. I have a hard time believing there's that many employees that need the entire suite. I get the economic aspect of adding, once you add X number, it makes sense to go to the full suite. At the same time, every penny here matters, and I think you've got a council that's going to be kind of diving into some more of these details and looking for some good backup material on it, and I just didn't see it in this agenda bill. So that would be my question. And then as far as, you said it's happening on the 14th, if we were to make the next meeting, if we don't get an agreement, could we make the next meeting a special meeting, study session to a special meeting, to make whatever decision we need to make on this? I'm sorry. Gotcha, thank you. I learned that might not be an economical idea.
I would suggest that we, if I could, pick a lower number that the city could then deal with, and then if we needed to come back, if we had a business case to come back to you and say this is why we needed additional ones, then we would bring the IT director in to come and do that. But we'll pick a lower number than even what I suggested earlier, right? And then we can come back if we need it. But I would be concerned about running out of the Adobe products for the other things that we have. So if the council has a number for the suite products that they are more comfortable with, we would be happy to go forward with that. And then again, if we need to, we'll come back.
Okay, thank you. And Councilmember Lamb, thank you very much if you'd like to go forward.
So I motion that we approve the renewal for Adobe for the 71 users for Acrobat and 3 users for the All Apps.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we are going to approve 71 licenses for the
Adobe. Sorry, just real quick, but on the sales order, there is another $323.88 for the Adobe stock small all AP license sub. Could we have that also in there?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so moved and seconded to approve 71 licenses for the Acrobat Pro, 1 license for Adobe Stock, and then, did you say 3?
3.
3 licenses for the full suite. Would you like to speak to your motion?
No, I think we had plenty of discussion. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, that was excellent. Thank you.
We'll eat the savings.
Okay, thank you very much. And up next, we have council reports. Is there any council reports that have not been submitted with the agenda? Councilmember Stewart.
Yeah, so we have our first Eastside Fire and Rescue meeting of the year on Thursday. We will start the discussion of our annual priorities in that meeting, and we'll try to finalize those at our February meeting. So if anybody has any questions or ideas that you want me to make sure get included in that, please just reach out, email me, or give me a call, and I'll make sure that we add those to it. Just as an FYI, it's also a budget year. We're doing biennial budgets for EFR, so we will be doing a budget this year, which takes up a lot of time. And then we are also looking at a couple of big items around the financing of equipment, because over the past years, prior EFR boards did not fund the equipment replacement funds, and so we've had to do some creative financing to buy some new fire trucks. So there'll be quite a bit of work there in terms of how we want to deal with that going forward, because if we tried to do a one-time catch-up, it would be a huge number on all of the partner jurisdictions that I don't think anyone's prepared to handle. So those are 2 of the big items that we have on there. There's another one also for building, the headquarters is very old. It's down there, and it is actually a borrowed building. It is not actually owned by EFR. And that fund was also defunded through the years, so there is not a building like a building replacement fund either. So we're also looking at those. Not to discourage any ideas, but just to let you know, we have a couple of big items already on our plate. So, but open to anything. And just in general, if you have questions about EFR, since I know police and fire are two of our big budget items, I'm happy to sit down and go through all of that with anyone. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. Councilmember O'Farrell.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to let the community know, council know, I will be attending at Skyline High School this Saturday. The Washington Indian Association are holding their Harvest Festival. It's on from noon till 8 p.m. I encourage anyone who is interested to stop by and take a look, but I will be there.
Thank you very much. And I think we'll have multiple council members attending that, so we might need to. Okay. And then we have Councilmember Treen.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Eastside Transportation Partnership meeting is on Friday, and I'll be attending that. Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. And first off, congratulations to new council members. Excited to get the year started with all of you. A couple of quick items. For those may or may not know, but we had a tree let go and fall on Lewis Thompson Road and block the entire roadway this afternoon. It fell on the power line, so it took a little longer, but good news from the team. PSC managed to come out and untangle the lines, and our crews cleared the road, so the road is now open. So that's a positive. I do want to remind the community that applications for boards and commissions are open through Friday of this week, and next week council will go through an interview process to appoint open seats to the boards and commissions. So I want to encourage everyone, if you're interested, please do apply. And then finally, Coffee with Council is this Saturday. It was moved, obviously, from the first meeting of the year. And so a number of folks have said they're available. If I may suggest, our new mayor and deputy mayor be our anchor for this one, if you're available, and then would look for a volunteer to fill that third slot for this week. But I'll turn it back to you, Mayor, for figuring out who is going to attend that Coffee with Council.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone like to volunteer right now on the spot? Okay, Councilmember O'Farrell, thank you very much. Okay, so I gotta admit I don't remember on the long-term calendar, anything we need to go over with that, or we just kind of, that's there as an FYI, perfect. Okay, with that said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much, we're adjourned. Yeah, it's it's a lot coming at you trying to read this. Yeah. No, so I appreciate your